Let's get the chat set up. Live chat. See who shows up first. Who's here? I see 4 people. This is one of those ones, guys, where it's just an exercise in patience. Just no pressure. No pressure on that edge. This guy. Same thing I was doing when I left the last feed. You guys want to see where I'm running into this problem? Because I think I can show it better on here. So if you guys were on my Instagram live feed, that's just veterans taking care and supporting other veterans, small businesses taking care of supporting other small businesses. That's just the way it's supposed to work. I'm gonna show you guys what I'm dealing with now. I mean, the guys on the Instagram feed saw it. So we'll tip this back. You can see up my nose, probably get to see my socks and sandals. I was right. I gotta clean all this shit up in my yard. So you can see this guy that sharpened this for this customer made that angle. So he got clear down into the choil. He made that angle so rounded at the tip that I'm having to take that off just to reestablish tip. And then he got a little overzealous on this side and took that area down. But what I'm dealing with is that edge. You see how asymmetrical that is? Now, in the long scope of things, my edge will be even, but I have to try and get these 2 angles pretty much the same, as much as I can. There we go. So, this is just, let me see, did I miss any? So, is it set for live chat? Do I have it set for live chat? I have it set for live chat now. There we go. So, yeah, this is an exercise in patience. When somebody screws an angle like this up so bad, you got to work both sides of this and try and even that edge out. But the problem is that tip will probably never be as symmetrical as I want it, just because they did so much. Well, there's a lot of guys, and they quest for that super, super thin edge. But the problem is, that's not great on everything. Well, my knife won't hold an edge now. Yeah, it's because you went too shallow on it. It doesn't have enough material to support that edge. Then your edge bevel looks really fat and wide, and then now I do have to admit that there's some things you can get away with that super thin edge like that on, but not something you're going to do much cutting with. We're getting closer to even. So I gotta take material off this side, take material off this side. Hi, cat. So, is it choppy? Are you guys experiencing, is it pretty crappy, the feed? Because I don't know, my internet's been iffy this morning. Well, Marla, you see what's on my workbench. Sean, you're getting to watch your knife get sharpened. So this, I'm not gonna lie to you, Sean, this edge is not gonna be as thin or feel as slicey as it did before, and that's 100% because the edge is not gonna be as thin. This is a very thick blade. It's gonna be sharp, but it's gonna be a much thicker edge, and it's just the way it's gonna have to be, because anything thinner than that, I can get a little bit thinner because I'm using a convex. It should have more material to support that edge, but I don't think it will be, it'll be sharp, but it won't be, I'm not gonna lie, that thing was slicey as shit, but that's because it was too thin. And had you cut anything substantial with it, you would have found out real quick that that edge wouldn't hold. So, got it almost even. So you missed almost an hour of me working on this on Instagram and about another 5 minutes, 52 seconds on this, but I'm trying to even out the angle on this. I might be able to actually rectify the issue on the tip of this. So it's 204p, so it's a fairly, all right guys, let's take a look. So I've been working on it a bit. Let's see, let's look at it again. That's the off button. I keep doing that when Yakov calls me. So you see I've gotten almost all that old edge off, almost all the old edge off, but the big thing is I've almost evened out that tip. It's still gonna be a little bit off. I just can't do anything about that because the amount of material that got removed, but I'm gonna try and get it as square and even as possible and maintain that edge all the way up to the tip. Just the tip, just for a second. But there may be, Sean, I'm gonna tell you right now, with the level of reprofiling, there may be some small scratches right there. And I can't, like I said, I can't, I'll try and get them out when I go further up in grit. But that's because I'm having to use a fucking 60 grit stone. Those scratches just, when you have to reprofile this much, sometimes they just happen. So, but I'll get it nice and even. It'll be clean and sharp and polished. I think we're taking this to 12. I think that might do it. Oh. This side needs just a little bit more. What was that? Midwest Prepper. So the forearms, I don't drop knives. This thing weighs, so this weighs, I think if I remember right, this weighs like 1.5 pounds. It's a 1.5 pound plate of steel. My shoulders, the muscles in my neck and stuff are pretty resilient because I'm holding this up for long periods of time. And 1.5 pounds might not sound like that much, but hold 1.5 pounds in your hand like that for very long. You get real tired. I got one for you. We used to do this in the military. If there's anybody here that was in the military, remember pen tricks? So you'd be doing something, you had to hold a pin out like this, straight out. I have news for you. Goddamn ink pen gets real fucking heavy real quick. I had a kid one time trying to tell me a rank didn't matter. We were in a school. I'm a second class. You're a first class. But you don't have any rank. You're not that. You're just in school just like me. You're a student. I was like, really? Really? How about this? How about you take your notebook in this hand and your schematics and diagrams in this hand and go stand in the back of the room like this until I get tired of seeing it. You learned real quick that yes, I had rank even in the classroom. think I've evened that edge out. I think I've done it. Yep. We're all even. All even. Now I can move up in grit. So. So like I said, when you're dealing with sharpening, it's a matter of patience. You cannot use more pressure. It doesn't get you anywhere. Using more pressure just wears your stones out. So like I was saying when I was doing it, this is a exercise in patience. Straight razors even more so. Because it's so flexible, Peter, when you get to grinding your bevels, you won't get, it just would move. You couldn't do it. It'd be like trying to grind, it would be like trying to grind Play-Doh. You get it so thin, the thinner it gets, the more flexible and malleable it gets. And you know, I've said it's like, Peter, and here's the thing too. Even if I could do it feasibly not because of the material, I can't do it because I don't have the proper equipment to do a hollow grind like that. And here's the thing. Where are they going to get the SM100? There is none for sale right now. There is no SM100 available, period. Yeah, they haven't made any for a while. There hasn't been a big demand, and the stuff that was available got taken for use on other stuff. It's not like exclusively a knife steel. It's used for a lot of other stuff. So it's like Bowler M390. Unless you're buying a ton of it, well, supply and demand. Apparently, people haven't been demanding it, but Summit makes some, but the majority of it's made by other companies. Summit doesn't make all of the SM100. It's not like they make SM100 for the NASA purposes and stuff. No. But like I was saying, exercise in patience. This is my Zen. I don't know, Peter. Why don't you go look it up and figure out where it all went? Why don't you look that up for me, Chief? Let's go spend some time Googling shit. Because I don't know if you know this, you've got the wealth of human knowledge at your fingertips. You've got, in what 1960 would have been considered a fucking supercomputer in your hip pocket. Hell, until 1970. Here's the thing, they were giving people acid during MK Ultra. I would have fucking volunteered. Hey, you want to test the effects of acid? I'm good. I'm in. What did I just get? Sorry. Sorry, that was an accident. You know what I wish? So like these live feeds are monetized. So yes, that's why I do more YouTube live feeds these days than I do Instagram. But I wish that they could match the features of YouTube to here. I don't know. Peter, don't ask me things I don't know. If I knew, I would have done a video about why. I don't know why. They just did. This much heavier profiling, I'm gonna have to spend a lot of time on these stones to make sure I've cleaned that entire edge up. Especially at the lower grits, I wanna make sure, because if you don't, then you wind up with weirdness you gotta take care of later. So I'm going over and I actually, as opposed to just listening for it and stopping when it starts to form the burr, I'm making a big burr. 650. Just making sure that I'm taking off enough material all the way up to the apex to make sure that those super coarse grits I was on, that any remnants of the grit scratch pattern at the very apex and the very front are gone. So I'm firming the burr, taking it off. Firming the burr, taking it off. Which is the way a lot of people do it, but that's not the way I usually do it. So, got to make sure that I have that smooth pattern all the way up to the apex. Because I was on some pretty coarse stones. Sorry, bro, I don't have time for that right now. I couldn't. So I'm gonna go to 1,000, see what it looks like at 1,000. I don't like doing that, but like stuff like that starts, it makes it uncomfortable for the other subscribers. And so I don't want it to become because what happens is then people start kicking out because they're like, yeah, I don't want to read this. I don't want to hear this crap from this guy. And I apologize. I hope you don't think I'm just being a dick, but that's not the place for this. Well, it's not that it has nothing to do with knives. It's, I know I like to, here's the thing. I make this channel try and feel like we're like all friends, but the fact is, out of all my subscribers, I maybe know 5 or 6 of them personally. And so it does get to feel like we can talk about anything here, but the fact is, one, I have to keep track of what's going on in the comments section. If stuff gets really weird, YouTube will pull it. YouTube will block the stream, and then I'll get a strike, and I can't have that. This is an integral part of the business. It's a lot of the marketing. I do make money on YouTube, not very fucking much, I'm not gonna lie, but it's enough to buy, it's enough to buy like a couple cases of beer a month if I wanted to, or to buy milk for the house for the entire month. So, I mean, every little bit helps. So, exactly, I mean, at this point, every fucking penny counts. So I'm trying to get that up a little bit higher. But I am getting swarmed by mosquitoes out here. The sun's starting to, the sun has pushed them out this way, and now they're up under my canopy. I've gotten bit like 3 times already. So we're gonna light a mosquito coil. this wet spring we've had, it's been horrible. So these ones do. The wife brought these from Japan. They work really well. And I just didn't think about it until just now. As long as it's not windy. As long as it's not windy, these work really well. And then they just, you can light them in the lid, and then there's a bunch of them in the bottom. And that's usually enough, and this will last like 12 hours. And the thing is, it keeps them from getting in through the garden door too, because yeah, those ones, the Japanese ones, they work really well. So I've got a lot of, there's not, I think I've got them all cleaned up. I got a whole nother box of them in the house. Plus the wife brings them back every time she goes. I want to try and have another YouTube meetup, but I've got to figure out a time to do it. I was thinking it would be a good time to do it with Yakov, but I can't. I got to where I stopped planning anything. No, not really, because they don't sell them online. Not those ones. They sell something like it, but they really don't kill the mosquitoes. They just kind of, oh, the smell, they get rid of the mosquitoes. No, those actually will do it. Like if you put that inside a box with a bunch of mosquitoes, they'd all be dead real quick. But it's not like it's illegal. They don't sell them online, and you can't, like for what you pay for them to import them, I imagine that you could get some, but they would probably, like if you looked hard enough, you'd probably find them. But I guarantee it's stupid expensive to get them shipped over here. So those little scratches I was talking about, no. Like they don't recommend like doing them in the house, like one like that in a small room, but like if you put one in the middle of the whole house, I've done it before. It just, there's like, you don't want to be in a room where there's like a cloud of that smoke. But like if you put it in the central room of the house and you've got good ventilation and it spreads it around, it's not such a big deal. I just like it because it's up under my legs where I keep getting bit, so the smoke stays up under the workbench. So I'm gonna spend a lot of time on this 1000 grit just to make sure that I'm where I want to be on this, and then this knife would have been way better if they had hollow ground it. Minutes plus the, wow. I figured those little scratches we saw would mouse pad and sandpaper sharpening, you're gonna get, I mean, you can do it, but if you're careful, I mean, but the thing is, what happens is that mouse pad's soft. And so what's gonna happen is you get some weird scratches. It's gonna be ZT0392BLKGRN, black and green. Okay, so I was afraid of. We got some spots that this edge might still be a little bit too thin. I may have to take this back a little bit because it's, as I'm sharpening, it's wanting to get weirdness in certain areas. Let's see. Let's see if I can get that. Yeah, it's trying to chip right at the very edge because it was so thin before and it's still real thin. I may have to go back and reprofile a little higher at a little steeper angle and just start all over again and just keep getting it back. I'm trying to, we'll see what happens when I go up a grit. I'll go back down to 650 real quick. Going to be a complex sharpening, complex edge grain basically on this. It's going to have multiple angles. I'm going to have to knock the shoulders off of it to get where I want. This is going to have to be really, really recurved to get where I'm wanting to go with this. I have to add multiple shoulders on this to get that apex clean like I want it without any chipping. It's just too, it was done so thin that it's just, even trying to even having thickened it up like that, it still wanted to chip a little bit at the very, but I think, yep, that got it. Now we go up. Now we can go up. Sorry guys, it's taking a lot of thinking. I can get a 300 grit edge every bit as sharp as the other one. It's just not gonna be as refined. You can only get stuff so sharp. So I would do a couple stropping strips on it and then I would knock the burr off on something like this. But I mean, I've done 400 to 600 grit edges for fishermen that needed to cut bait and things like that. Bait, line. So my daughter's in there. She's got a friend, one of her ice skating friends, Matilda. My friend Dennis. So if you guys remember Dennis, the Russian boxer, we've been to his house a couple times. Nope. I quit watching Cutlery Lover when he basically turned into lighter and cigar lover. He hasn't really done anything that even interested me in quite a while. I don't need to know about his idea of cigars. If he wants to, he probably should rebrand his channel. So, I mean, I liked his channel. I used to watch it all the time, but he hasn't shown anything in a while that I truly... No, wait, what was it? Oh, okay. Oh, okay. I see. I see. I used to watch his channel all the time. I used to watch the Nut and Fancy Project too, until he just went over the top. He went off the rails with his whole military thing, with just everything was 3-letter acronyms and just over the top. And I was like, okay, I get it. You were in the military, but like, I'm sorry, you were a reserve pilot in the Air Force, which is that's one step below being a Boy Scout. $750 CRKT. I just don't know if I can trust a company like CRKT to put out a $750 knife that I would think was fit to buy. Let's see where we're at. Let's go to this stone, and we'll see if any of that final little... There's some weird scratches that I'm getting right in one area up on the apex, and I'm thinking it's just going to require a new reprofiling. Maybe not. Maybe not. I think they're gone now. Okay. I'm not going to take this all to 12,000 right now because I have to get those stones out and wet them. We'll take it to... Well, I suppose I could. I suppose I could get that stone out. We haven't had that stone out for a while. Don't like doing pocket knives on it, but we will because it was requested. There's still deep scratches in that though. Yep, still deep scratches in that one spot. Oh, gotta go back down. Fuck it, let's go all the way to 250. Back down 250, that's what the problem I'm having. Well, because 12,000 is the highest I've got, and lower, I mean, sometimes people just want a really clean, aesthetically pleasing edge. And so that's why I have those options. But all of my edges, even if you're going up like as high as like 12,000 grit, I make sure that they're still pretty bitey. What was that? Yeah, we're not gonna talk about that here. I don't get into political shit as often here. Like the police, the militarization, the police stuff here, like I did yesterday, that's okay. I mean, we can talk about some of that stuff every once in a while, but like I'm not gonna get into my personal opinions on that one. So you guys can feel free to email each other and stuff. Oh yeah, I saw it too. I wasn't happy. That's what it was. I had a little bit of grit from the... For those of you that ask why I spend so much time on each individual grit, it's because it helps keep me from having to go back and do this. But this time it didn't, because I put so many deep scratches in so many times that now we're dealing with, it was just too much. And then that edge is still real thin. I'm gonna have to talk to Sean. I'm gonna probably have to thicken this up even more. I was trying to keep it kind of thin and slicey, but it's just not, I don't think it's gonna hold, to tell you the truth. We'll see. We'll give it another chance. But if that edge doesn't feel like it's going to hold, I'm going to have to go back and we'll have to talk about the thickness on this edge, because these were thick knives to begin with. They are attractive, but they were very, very thick blades. And so I'm running into some issues where trying to thin this edge out, it's not one to hold, and trying to chip. The edge that was on it before, I could push the edge and roll the edge with my fingernail by pushing on it. So before you ask, Jack, I already had my coffee this morning. I drank a whole pot of coffee this morning. Not a half a cup. I drank a half a pot. 6-cup pot. So I mean, basically what I've done is I basically reground the edge on this knife. I just did it by hand, as opposed to taking it up the shop, putting it on a grinder, which there's a lot of, what was that? They're not great. Let's not talk about the military. I talked about military with my buddy George Anthony in my Instagram live feed. I'm kind of done with that. All right, now let's go to 1,000. But before we do that, let's clean this stone off good. What was that? Somebody said something. I couldn't see it. They do. Actually, Extremum does make knives for the military. I think the Italian military, but they're not horrible. They're just not great knives. There we go. That's what I was looking for. That's the clean apex I was looking for. So I took off enough material. What I was thinking was chipping actually was, I think it was some of the 80 grit scratch pattern that, where did I get that hoodie? On the base. As a matter of fact, my wife and I bought this hoodie when I was out here in school for like 8 months. My wife came out and stayed with me for a month in my room, and it's so we had been married a year, so I've had this for, holy shit, let's see. This year I've had this shirt for, no, I've had this shirt for 17 years this year. My wife still has, I have the pants to go with it too. You cannot wear these shirts out. These shirts that they bought for On the Base, I don't know if you can even get them anymore. You can't wear them out. They wear like fucking iron. There we go. Good clean apex, no chips, no scratches from old grit, previous grit. That's what I want to see. Knocked all my old shoulders off. There's a little bit of cloudiness at the tip. I can take care of that on this stone, I think. There's a little spot where that previous edge screwed up the angle a little bit. It's just kind of hard to play with. No. We played that game once, remember? And it gets demonetized every time I put a picture of a knife in the... If I put the word knife or a picture of a knife in the description of the video, they're automatically demonetized. So even though this is 1,000 grit, I'm still, that's still taking off a good bit of material because I want to get that scratch pattern out. So we'll move to this stone because they're scary. Knives are scary, you didn't know? Did you guys see the post about the, advertiser pressure? Well, perceived advertiser pressure. There's a lot of folks that want to advertise on a knife channel. Okay. Stone. Well, I don't know if you guys have noticed the ads that wind up showing on mine a lot of times are that pull-through sharpener, the Austrian Edge. And I know you guys go on the internet too, so you guys have seen the running gag. Anytime somebody says that they filmed something in Austria, is like, put another shrimp on the Barbie, mate, and shit like that. So I always laugh when I see that. I'm on a really fine grit stone right now. We're gonna go one more up and we're gonna take a look at it, and then I will dig out my 10,000 grit stone, and then my 12,000 grit, I'll get it out and make sure that it doesn't have to soak. It's just a pain in the ass to dig out because it's underneath everything else because it doesn't get used as often. Got a couple little shoulders left in there. So basically what I do at this point is I'm polishing off all the shoulders of my previous grits. To get that clean convex. Like that. Sean, there's gonna be some weirdness at the tip of this. I'm sorry, bro, I can't do anything about it. To get these shoulders knocked off, it's gonna be a lot of weirdness. I'm gonna try and get some of the cloudiness taken care of. But it's simply just a matter of some of it might come out. I might be able to take care of most of it in the strop. So, last stone. Well, last one of these stones, I should say. What was that, Peter? It wasn't great, and the thing is, I don't think it's gonna hold that edge, because I'm pretty sure that the way that thing is designed, it's gonna hit the back. I'm pretty sure it's gonna hit the back, because it looked like it was gonna smack into the back. So I don't know how long it's gonna hold that edge. I think that it's gonna, first few times you use it very hard, it's gonna snap it shut. It's gonna just slam into that. But I mean, I tried to take off enough material on the edge itself, and where you're really gonna see it is in the serrations, the serrated area of that. Just the tip, just for a second. So this is my 4000 grit, which actually is kind of a stand-in for 8000. It actually is way finer than it's listed. So this actually, I tested it and I get a better finish. I have a proper, Benchmade proper here, if that's the one you're talking about. But I checked the finish on this versus the finish on my actual 8000 grit, and this 4000 is actually a finer finish than my 8000. You're gonna have to ask somebody else, Peter, how many times I gotta tell you I don't pay attention to other knives until it shows up at my house. And I don't keep track of, nope, haven't seen it. I think I definitely made my $100 on this one. I know it's wrong. Somehow he managed to get the corner of that into that, and it's almost hollowed out that edge. So there's probably gonna be a cloudy spot on it. I can't go any. Oh, fuck it, might as well use this 10,000. It's already out. I used it yesterday. The other one, I haven't flattened the other one for a while. Woo, buddy. That's shiny. I gotta flatten these anyway. I gotta do a couple kitchen knives anyway, so this isn't gonna hurt this. Boy, Boy, that is pretty at 10. It's pretty at 10,000. I mean, at this point, I don't recommend Spyderco or Benchmade. Their quality control is to the point where I can't in good conscience recommend either one of them. If I was gonna go with anything, if anything, I would go with Spyderco, because you're gonna get a better, you're just gonna get a better product from Spyderco than you are from Benchmade. And don't get me wrong, I mean, in my pocket is Benchmade 940. But first of all, this one is an older one. And second of all, I'm pretty sure that they know how hypercritical I am on stuff. And they made sure that they picked the best blade that they could to put in this knife when they fixed it for me, because this was a gift. So here we go. You guys don't get to see this one very often. This was my 12,000 grit. Most people take stuff to 10. Most of my customers. God, this stone cuts well. So smooth and consistent. Ooh, buddy. You gotta be careful though, it is a ceramic. It has a tendency to get slippery every once in a while. God, this stone does a good job. So this stone, this 12,000 grit stone leaves a frightening edge on anything that you put it on. I just usually don't use it because this is usually for straight razors, but every once in a while I get a customer that asks for a 12,000. I did a couple the other day, up to 12,000. But most people stick around to 10,000 grit, but I actually think that this 12,000 is better. I really do, because it is super mirror polished, but it's also freaking nightmarishly. It's a completely different finish than any other stone I use. I haven't even stropped that yet. It's got a couple catches in it, hiccups in it, where I've got to strop out some stuff and then clean up that forward apex. I hear children giggling. I think they're having a good time. It's good for Isabel. She doesn't let herself have. Oh, it cut me. Yep, a little piece of my finger sticking right there. Just cut myself. That's gonna probably be sore later. Right at my thumbnail. Right there. Right underneath the thumbnail. That's gonna be sore. Oh, what I was saying is, so my daughter puts so much into skating, she doesn't let herself have any time. And we don't do this. She pushes herself. All of this is her pushing herself. And so I love when she gets to hang out with her friend Matilda, because she gets to act like a kid. And it's spring break right now, so there's plenty of time for everything else that she wants to do. So this is like a vacation for her. She needs it because she's panicking. She's flipping out about, like, she's already nervous about next week, the competition on the 31st. So Now let's, boy, guys, that is, get a clean piece. No, I didn't say green piece. Clean piece. Fuck green piece. Come on now. I think it's just the way I'm holding the paper. Yeah. It's just the way I was holding the paper. I can't cut well on film. And then just to make sure we got all the old black shit out of any of the grooves, load this up, give it a couple runs on chromium oxide, just to clean out the areas where the diamond matrix likes to sit down in some of those little micro serrations. Like I said, as long as you're using fresh compound, you can get away with stropping on chromium oxide a little. Whew. All right, guys. Yeah. So there's some tiny, tiny, tiny little scratches right at the very, very origin of the, like you have to look for them to really see them. You got to get them just in the right light to see them. So, but that's just always gonna be like that because of the amount of reprofiling I had to do and use that heavy grit. Wow. Okay, guys. 12,000 grit edge. Oh my goodness. That's frightening. So is VG10? Yes, VG10 is a very good choice for almost any kitchen knife. It's impact resistant enough if you're cutting vegetables, you're not gonna roll your edge, and it's also, here we can bring you up. I had to stand up. I can't stay seated like that for that long. Just got this tripod has a crank where I can just raise you up. So, like I was saying, VG10's impact resistant enough that it, for chopping vegetables and things like that, it's not a problem. And it's also, takes a fine enough edge if you need it for stuff. It's not like it's gonna not take a fine edge. Anybody you know, you get a bronze washer for PM2, Spyderco so won't send me. What I would do is I would take the bronze washer from the other side and see what size it is and go to a fastener's place and see if they've got one that's the same size and dimensions. So, guys, let's turn this down and I'll show you. So if you watch my Instagram live feed, I gotta crank you back down again. If you watch my Instagram live feed, I showed that this didn't really have a tip at all. And so now we've fixed the tip issue. You see? It's no longer asymmetrical like it was. Let's see here, can I get in on it? See how the edge is almost completely even? Can you see what I'm saying? The problem is somebody got into that with the stone and almost hollowed that. And you can see it when you look. There's going to be a little cloudy spot right there. There's just not much that I can do about. Pushed the wrong button. I almost shut you guys off. So I'm gonna do a little bit more refining on the strop a little bit later before I send this off to the customer. So that tip's no longer rounded off. It's nice and even. The bevel's nice and even. It's a complete full convex now. So that's, I was gonna say knife kits might, Alpha Knife Supply. There's a few places where you can look around where they may have it, but I mean, there's no guarantee. No promises. What time is it? I'm gonna do a video, guys, today. It looks like, what forum? Okay, Matt, what are we talking about? I see what Matt's talking about. Hang on, let me crank this up. I can't stay seated all that. I can't stay seated for that long. It makes my back hurt. So Matt said, oh, okay. So, yeah, guys, I got a little bit more refining to do on the strops, and then that's, I mean, this is done. This is super clean, super nice. Go back down through the strops a couple more times, just to see if any of those little imperfections come out. There's always little imperfections and marks and things when you refinish, and so all I'm doing is I'm knocking all those other, I'm not actually at the apex. I'm knocking shoulders off that I missed throughout the sharpening process so that it looks like a full convex and does not have that weird, like you can see where I changed angles, that facet. So you can do that with this. And the nice thing about this is it's super fine and it just polishes it off as opposed to going back down on a fine stone and then having to go back up. So that's what these are really good for. And that's why I use diamond, because it continues to cut. It's not going to burnish off the edge. It's not going to make it look, it's not going to detract from how it cuts, but it allows you to refine that edge, polish, and take off those shoulders gently without that is. I think that's as good as it's going to get on something this thick. Go back down to 1/2 micron. Give it a couple runs on that since we took it back up to 1. Yeah, that's really starting to look. Like I said, don't use any pressure when you're doing this, guys. You'll roll that strop over, and even on this, you can still screw up your edge. Yeah, I just said that. VG10's a good knife, all-around kitchen knife. A lot of kitchen knives made in Japan are made out of VG10. A lot of the high-end ones either are all VG10 or they make a Damascus pattern and then put a VG10 core in it. My wife wants me to open the door. Do you need to use this bucket? Do you need to use this bucket to wash the car? Oh, how'd that get burnt? That's got to go in its own bag. Well, I don't know if it's going to be a new knife, but there's going to be spots, like I was real careful not to get down. I don't want to do any more damage to that. So there's a little cloudy spot there. There's going to be a little cloudy spot there where I tried not to do anything more to adding more damage to that area. So, I mean, Is it gonna be 100% perfect? No, but it's definitely been reprofiled and now it has a tip and it actually is more of a, it's gonna be an edge that will hold up longer because like I said, it's convex, so there's more material to hold that edge. So it actually should cut a little bit better on something this thick. You know what I mean? So, like I said, at least it's got a tip now. Tip's not rounded over. It matches up nice and clean. I wish I could knock the burr that's formed on the tip off, but if I do, you're gonna lose your DLC coating. So we'll just leave it. It might wear off over time. So as far as a spa treatment, we'll get this thing apart here in a little bit. Just making sure I got all my edges, but I've got to get off of here, guys. It's been 66 minutes. I don't like leaving them run this long. So I will talk to you guys later.